Greetings, chess fans. Today in Biel, the bilingual city in Switzerland, kicked off the 58th International Biel Chess Festival, and of course, the largest part of the program is the very prestigious GMT Challengers and Masters round robin tournament, which consists of three tournaments: Rapid, Classic, and Blitz. But today, during the first day of the event, the players played out the Chess960 tournament, which serves as a tiebreaker for the upcoming triathlon. The players battled it out both the Masters and Challengers, 5 rounds against each other in the end, playing against Challengers versus Masters for 2 more extra games. So what I have selected for you are two of the most interesting games from both tournaments, and I would like to show them you what happened in those games. So we are going to start with a game of Salem Select against Radoslav Wojtaszek, and this game was played actually in the very first round, which opened up with e4, c5. You're probably thinking this is your usual Sicilian defense. No, it's not, because you're seeing this is Chess960, and the pieces are arranged completely differently. So here after knight f3, b6, White decided to castle short on move number 3. Black immediately responded with a very aggressive move g5, trying to challenge knight on f3 with the move g4. Now, Salem decided to stay true to his playing style. He played d4, sacrificing a pawn, and after c takes on d4, he continued with c3. Now, this is something you definitely have seen in Smith-Mora, except this is not Smith-Mora. So here the Polish grandmaster played knight e6, and after c takes, knight e4, and eventual trade, White didn't really have anything much for the sacrificed pawn. White instead continued here h4, followed by bishop a6, hitting the rook on f1. All of this makes perfect sense. Rook e1, h6, h takes, queen h6, and knight g7. So the position simplified a bit. Black kept the extra pawn, and here the Emirati grandmaster was looking for ways to complicate matters. So he decided to play knight e3. Makes sense because you want to play something like knight e5 or knight f5. Bishop e4 was a very strong argument by the Polish player. Knight e5 was played, and after bishop takes on c1, rook takes on c1 here, Wojtaszek had been playing a pretty flawless game. And all he basically had to do is just to collect the pawn on b2, followed by bishop c2, queen e5, and White doesn't really have anything for the sacrifice material. Now here Radoslav decided to improve his position a bit, and he played queen d2 instead. So you see the rook on c1 doesn't really have any good squares to retreat, because the f1 square is out of bounds. Now this forced White to play bishop c2, and after rook c8, I think Wojtaszek was only expecting the move knight e3. The knight leaves the attacking square, and then Black, I suppose, can somehow normalize the position, perhaps with rook c6, kicked away queen from h6, and then after knight e6, complete to consolidate the position. But here came the shocker. Salem played rook d1, with the idea that after queen takes on c2, it's not rook c1 you would think, because Black would just take on c1 and take the 2 rooks for the queen. It's knight takes on e7. So we're off for an explosive start. The big idea is, of course, after king takes on e7, queen d6 check, king e8, queen d7, king f8, the game would just repeat with a draw. And while we're expecting this is going to be the outcome of this game, now instead here, Wojtaszek played rook e8, fully expecting that knight g8, king takes on g8 is about to happen. Now here came the shocker. White played rook takes on d7, another double exclam move. And here the idea is that Black cannot take on e7, there's going to be a check. Knight e8 is simply illegal move because the knight is pinned, and after rook e8 would be a checkmate on the board. Now that's why here Black decided after rook takes on d7 to play queen e4, again inviting to take on g8, and here White played a very powerful move, knight e5. The threat is queen d6 with a checkmate. The other, perhaps even more sinister threat is to play knight f6 and knight h7 checkmate. Very unusual idea. Here, Wojtaszek played queen g6. The only move basically tried to keep the position alive. White decided to trade it, and after knight f6, again, it's not just a fork, it's a checkmate idea on h7. Black continued here with rook e6, which is the best shot, and here came another very powerful move by white. He did not take the rook on g8. He played knight h7 check, king e8, and rook d1 with an idea to play rook d8, king e7, and rook d7 again. Checkmate on the board. So here finally Wojtaszek did not find anything better than to play rook e1 check, essentially throwing in the towel. So white just played rook takes on e1, knight f6 check, fork, and managed to wrap up the game in a nice and stunning fashion. So this was really an impressive start of the tournament, but there was one more game that really stood out from the rest, and that was played in the challengers section between Nicolast against Daniel Darda. Watch it yourself. So it opened up with g4, and by the way, this g4, or from the black's perspective, g5, was a pretty common returning theme in the Chess960 tournament. g4 brings the queen in the game. Black played e5, c3, knight b6, a4. Very inspired game by the Greek grandmaster. Here, black responded with d6, a5, and bishop c6. Very powerful intermezzo move, forcing white to close along the diagonal. White played e4. And after only first 7 or 8 moves, white essentially had moved only with the pawns, but still having a very nice position. Black played b5. Now finally the first piece for white joined the game. Let's just maybe fast forward after white's inspired long castle because the queen side feels pretty secure. Black was trying to find good square for his pieces. Also the queen on h8 finally is joining the game. And the critical moment started to rouse about here. So both of the players were improving their positions, and here Theodorov decided that it's time also to anchor the knight on d5, f3 slowly but carefully giving his pieces better squares, and after king b2 queen f8 there was this one moment when things got completely out of control. After h5, rook h1, knight e3, king b8, suddenly came knight f5, and things go completely wrong for white. Because after c4, he felt he's entitled to start a kingside attack. The point is, after c takes on b4, c takes on b5, suddenly there's a pure chaos on the board with an idea that a takes on b5 will be met by d4, and suddenly the white queen is joining the attack against the weakened black king. But black decided to play rook c3 instead, which is marked as a mistake by an engine, but it's a very powerful attempt to organize a counterattack. White played bishop e1, rook c8 was an exchange sacrifice, followed by takes, takes, and d4. So white still insists on the idea to play b takes on a5, a6, and queen b5 check. Black played queen c8. White didn't find anything better than to take on a6. And after rook takes on b3, another fantastic move from the black's perspective. Queen c3, black already is threatening to lure a mate. You could have played king a2 here because queen c2 check here, king a1 will be met with a swift checkmate. So probably the clearance is something like knight e2 to shut the queen off the game, and also b3, queen a2 is threatening with a checkmate. So that's why here, instead of this, white had no choice but to go forward. King a4, clearly hinting that after queen a3 check, there's going to be king b5. And the king on b5 feels surprisingly well. Black played queen c2 check, which is not really a blunder. It's still perfectly playable move. King b5 is the only move, and after knight x on d5, it feels that it's Darda who is going for the win because there's either knight c3 or knight c7, and this king on b5 is feeling really vulnerable. Here the Greek grandmaster responded with the only move, queen c4 check, knight c7, king takes on b4, and here Darda, with only 7 seconds on the clock, made a huge blunder, bishop d2, which does make sense. On seconds, he simply missed the incredibly beautiful move, knight x on a6 check, with an idea that queen a6 is necessary for white, and now queen b2 check, king c4, queen c2 check simply ends with a perpetual. You're probably wondering why not king d5, because now after knight f6 check, king takes on d6, there's a very unusual mate on the board. But all of this was not found, obviously. They're still human beings, even though very strong grandmasters. So instead of this, Darda played bishop d4 check, and after the trade, king a4, white simply ran out of checks because the white king on a4 is feeling very secure. E takes on d4, rook b1 check, knight takes on d6, king d8. So it feels the game is over, right? Well, not quite. So here White decided to play a7, seemingly sealing the deal with rook b8 check, only to miss the incredible knight c5 check. The idea is after queen c5, there's queen a2 check, and again, White gonna play king b4 because he's gonna walk either under queen takes on b1 or knight a6 fork. So White decided to play queen a3, queen takes on b1, and now it's once again a three-result game. Knight f7 followed, knight e6, king d7, queen c5, and again, here comes queen a2 check. You're going to play queen a3 because after the trade, Black can simply take on d6. The a pawn is going nowhere. So here, White had to play king b4, walking into a fork. But the point is, after king b5, knight c5, he puts another queen on the board. So this was absolutely crazy action. Now things took a really strange turn. After king takes on d6, I don't know what happened here. White Theodora did not play queen c6 check, which seemed like the obvious move. After king e5, queen takes on c5. If somebody is playing this for the win, it feels like it should be White. At least definitely there's no risk involved because queen e5 just doesn't work. You can just take it here and White is going to promote faster. Now, instead of this, here Theodorov played something else. He gave this check here, started to give a lot of checks, did not give up, pick up the knight on c5, and a couple of moves later, he realized that after queen g5, king d7, queen takes on c5 is a big blunder. After king takes on c5, it was still a playable position, but after queen takes on c5, queen b3 check followed, and I think he simply missed from afar. He could have played queen b4 because there's going to be a trade, and Black is simply winning because of the outside h pawn. So what happened here is king a6, d3, and Darda eventually managed to win this game because White was unable to deliver a perpetual check. So there was a lot of crazy swings in both tournaments, especially at the end of the event. Players were feeling tired, they were missing a couple of things from time to time. And in the end, these were the final standings of the Masters tournament. So Wojciech took it down, despite the fact he lost the very first round game against Salem, who, by the way, finished in the shared second and third place together with Vladimir Fedoseev, Oleg Murzin, Svane, and Aravind Chidambaram. In the meantime, in the Challengers tournament, Rinat Jumabayev was the surprise winner, even though he was the lowest rated player of the event, followed by Aram Hakobian with 4 points and Daniel Darda finishing with the third place together with Makun. The action will continue tomorrow when the GMT Triathlon proceeds with the very first event of the tournament, which is the rapid tournament. This time the players, they're not going to mix the two groups together. Challengers, they're going to play against challengers. Masters, they're going to play against masters. 5 rounds of rapid with 2 points for every victory, 1 point for a draw, and obviously 0 for the loss. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be seeing you tomorrow for the live coverage at 2 p.m. Central European Summer Time.